Hi again. So we've been looking at how we can modify some properties of HTML objects. Because this is the way the tasks are set up, we are going to skip task 2. We're going to skip task 3 for now. We're going to go to part of task 4. So when a user clicks the larger links button, the text of all links on the page should increase. So what we're going to do first is just make the links to the page increase, and then we'll handle the user clicks in a bit later in our practice. So what is you need to do to get all the links? And so this you probably know. So if we could say document.querySelector all of A, that is going to get us all 16 of the links in here. And we have this navbar brand, then this navlink home, and so on. And then if we look inside of these, we can see that they have a whole bunch of properties. And one of these properties is the class name and class list. So they're called navlink class. And you can change any of these properties if you want to. We see we have an inner text. What we're going to do is to first look at the style property. Oh, if it wants to show it, let me just look at the style on its own. Let me just take the first one. So style, it has a font size. So if we take a look at it, actually, if we look at this first one, so we see this A has a content, hash content, and it has an explicit style written on it. So why does it have an explicit style written on it? Because if we look in the HTML, and we go up to one of these navbar, navlink home, you can see this does not actually have a style on it. In fact, it has a class that says class navlink. And so how does it have this font size? And the answer is that when the person creating this repo created it, they added this line in. So they said, document query selector all, for each of them, I'm going to apply this function. I'm going to set the style inside the style object of each link. I'm going to set the font size to 1M. And you can see the result there is the font size is set to 1M. So one thing we could do then to make the text larger is to set the font size to 1.5M. And here I'm doing it, you see, with a for loop instead of a for each. The result is the same. And we can check the result here. Now all our text is a little bit larger. And in fact, we can go check. If I go look for this first A, we see font size 1.5M. Now, you might remember from HTML, CSS that if we add a class, for example, I've created a class called larger. If we added the larger class that has a font size, this font size, because it's cascading style sheets, will have priority over the style in the class, because the class is less specific than this object. You can't be more specific than this element in the DOM. So what we are going to do is we are going to delete this because I don't like it. We're also in the index.html going to delete this because I don't like it either. And we're going to set it with a CSS class. So I added a larger class. You'll see here there's a background red class for later, and the font size is larger. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to write some code to apply that class everywhere. So I'm just going to pause the recording while I code it up. And now we can look at the document again. We see all these are bigger. And if we go have a look at one of them, we can see that the larger class has now been applied. And if we go look at this element over here, at its font size, we see that the font size is larger from the class larger. Next thing we're going to do is to go back to task 3. Again, we're not going to apply the buttons, but we're going to just change the background color of the page to red. And we're going to do this with a CSS class. So again, here, you're going to apply the background color, the background red class to the body. And that's going to look like this. It's horribly red. That's great. Because I would like it to be less red for the remainder of the exercise, I am going to move this into a function, and it will come up useful later. So let me pause. There we go. We're back, and I've created a function called makeRed that will change it to be red. So the function is literally in the JavaScript, and I can call makeRed from here. It's all red, and I'm going to reload because I don't actually want it to be red, but that's ready for us there later. You should have now a makeRed function implemented.